Portland. Portland is here. Yes, I'm in Portland, which is located here in southwestern Victoria, Australia. I have a map here because maps are educational and fun. I've travelled from here to here. So Portland, funnily enough, is a port. Funny because it's in the name. It is a very pretty little country town on the ocean about 5 hours from Melbourne. Other than the port, it has a maritime museum and a very pretty library, which I'm visiting today. This is Fiona Antony. She's the author of Millie and Sammy, a very talented and wonderful human, and of course, a Portland local. Fiona came to me with an idea and a story. Sunshine, she said, I have an idea and a story for you. I said, cool. Both of those things I really like. Then she gave me pictures of a dog and a cow, which, as most of you know, is the best way to get my attention. These were not just random dogs and cows. No, they were in fact her pets, Millie and Sammy. Fiona had a story she wanted me to illustrate about the special friendship this dog Sammy and this cow Millie had on her farm. The story she told me and the characters she described were so wonderful and so imaginative, I immediately loved the idea and I got to illustrate it. Before we head into this launch, which is where we're eventually heading to, let's talk about how we made the book. The first thing we had to do was bring Fiona's characters to life. I initially thought that this would be much easier than a normal character design due to the fact that they are based on real life animals. But I struggled with Sammy a little bit. He was tricky. The first version of Sammy had a weird head and a strange body and wasn't quite detailed enough. I just did not like it. The second one looked a little bit dopey and his tail wasn't waggly enough. And that's a real problem for a fancy little doggo. The third one was quite cute and almost there, but a little bit young looking for the audience I had imagined, as Fiona and I had decided the audience for Millie and Sammy was 5+. Finally, with the last character, I thought was pretty much perfect, and I fell in love with him. He had a lot of Sammy's personality that came through in Fiona's description, and I could see it in all the photos she sent me, and it got all squished up into his little face. His floofiness and his cheekiness just worked for the character we wanted to create. Millie the cow, on the other hand, just worked. She has a cute little patch of hair up the top because all cows should have a fro, 2 little horns, and a nice big nose like a cow should. For me, it just worked and Fiona loved the design. This is what they ended up looking like. I loved how Sammy has turned out. Even if he started out as a problem child, he has absolutely rectified the situation. He's sweet, he's cheeky, he's got his little name tag on because we need to know it's Sammy. And obviously he's got a waggly tail because he's a very good boy. Millie also came out adorably. I love the colouring of her. She's the classic Jersey cow colour. She's also got very sweet, innocent eyes happening and a cute pink nose. I actually love the little addition of the pink nose. It just kind of adds that little bit of sweetness to her that gives her a little bit more personality. What happened next was the storyboard. Okay, for those of you that don't know, a storyboard is basically a comic. It's a series of small pictures that show how the book should look, its composition, design, and how we visually tell the story. Making a storyboard is fun. Okay, who am I kidding though? All the parts of making a book are fun, but storyboards are where you actually get to see how each of the pages is going to work and get to have a sense of how the book is going to tell the story. Here in one frame, Millie and Sammy are jumping around, and then the next one is a close-up shot which tells the story visually. Storyboards are great for everyone involved because it means we're all on the same page as to how things should look, and because they're such small, low detail pictures, it's easy to add and subtract to make things perfect for everyone. So Millie and Sammy's story is kind of special because it tells us all about farming in Australia. And for a kid growing up on farms, it tells a story they can relate to. And for those who don't have much to do with farming, it gives a window into that farming life. All these things make books like this much more relatable to kids. When I was painting the pages, there was a few things I wanted to make sure I included. Firstly, I wanted to capture the local Western Victoria landscape. It's fairly unique to the world and it's a really interesting part of Australia. It's beautiful and I wanted to capture that. The second thing I wanted to add was lots of hidden details. Fiona had said she loves finding hidden stuff in each page, and to be fair, so do I. So of course we added a bunch of secret hidden things everywhere for people to find. We've added bees and butterflies, little critters crawling, and a couple of other secrets you'll have to find yourself. Lots of fun stuff for kids to find every time that they reread the book. At this point, we'd nearly finished the whole book. All that we had to do now was the layout design. Layout design is actually really interesting because it brings all the pages that we've created along with the story text together so we can see how the final book is going to look in its proper book form. Creating this layout design was particularly fun because Fiona was more hands-on than most self-published authors, making the trip all the way down here to see me in Melbourne. And for an illustrator that spends 99% of the week locked in a box, it was lovely to work with her in person. And voila, the book is finished. And here we are at the launch in Portland. I'm at the Portland Library and I have just arrived. Doesn't Fiona look lovely? This place is stunning. The more libraries I visit, the more impressed I am by how amazing they are with the resources that they have. This is the lovely librarian Nessa, who was the MC, organizer and facilitator of today. She was the go-to girl. So the Portland Library is bright, open and very friendly looking. It also had, much to my surprise, a stunning outdoor area overlooking the bay. And that's where we are now. Nessa the librarian started us off very officially as the MC and we got down to business.
The story is Millie and Sammy, and it is about Sammy, who is a puppy dog on my farm, and Millie, who is one of our calves, who is still with us. She's very sweet and very bossy.
Do they still hang out?
No, because Millie's very bossy.
Oh.
Yeah, if you open the gate, she's out first.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think she just grew up,
Yeah.
and Sammy has not.
Next up, Fiona read the book while I turned pages and did all the appropriate gasps in the right places. Before we started answering some audience questions.
Where did the story come from?
Sitting at the window, watching Sammy playing with the calf, and I kid you not, the two of them would go down the back paddock and play together and run around, and at one point I'm pretty sure Millie thought she was a dog. Yeah, absolutely.
So the actual writing process, how long did that take you from when you thought of the story, when you watched it back window?
Not very long at all. I'm very dramatic and I like to tell stories, so it came out relatively quick, but that was 7 pages, so it was the process of editing that and then going back over and making sure that each section flowed on. The writing process, so that was an interesting process of, you know, when you actually put it into the sections, you had to make sure that what came next, it made sense. So the editing process took quite a long time. Yeah,
it's good though. It's a learning process, I think.
Yeah.
With question time over, it was time to enjoy Portland's beautiful weather. All the little future artists had a chance to do some colouring in of Millie and Sammy. So many talented little people with some very unique colour choices made in their artworks. Then the book signing began, and I met the most lovely, warm-hearted people, all here to support Fiona's book. It's so nice to see a little community like Portland getting together to celebrate their local creators. There were people there from all walks of life, and they were super excited and really pumped to see a local author creating local stories. As the afternoon was drawing to a close, I took the opportunity and did my thing to sit Fiona down to ask her some questions. We are here, we have just had the book launch and it was absolutely fantastic. I think we had a lot of people actually.
Yeah,
and
it's a beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day. Portland is putting on the weather today, which
Yes,
is very nice.
which is very unusual, and I think 3 days time it will rain. It's guaranteed to, so.
The weather's been a bit like that in Victoria.
Yeah, it has.
Tell me about Millie and Sammy, the book.
Okay.
This is Millie and Sammy. It looks very nice, everyone. It's come out really lovely.
Yes, it has. A lot of work's gone into that. So, so basically, Sammy, who is our puppy dog at home, and Millie, who is a calf that we've hand raised, and it's about their journey. So they were literally two animals that played together in the paddock, and I remember observing them and thinking, that's really gorgeous. That could be a beautiful story.
And it is.
Yeah.
And it is a really beautiful story. And she sent me along some photos of Millie and Sammy when we first started. I'm like, oh my gosh. As soon as I saw the photos, I'm like, yes, okay, I need to take on this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been really lovely. How did you find the self-publishing experience?
Actually relatively straightforward and smooth, yeah.
That's good.
Because I had you, yes. And that's a really important point to make. And also to your website about getting in touch with an illustrator, how to go about self-publishing.
Episode? Yeah. Okay,
really
that's
important.
Good to know that it was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done this without you, because you've got the history, you've done lots of other books. Yeah, and I've bounced off you. I mean, down to things like Etsy, like how do I link Etsy to my
we
Facebook
still have to
account?
do that too.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've come on to it. But,
okay, great.
But having that conversation with you, what's the best way to go about selling my book? Yeah. And then the calming factor. So, you know, the frantic phone calls or the text messages, and you're like, it's fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
This has happened before.
This is what I love about kids' books particularly, is because it is such a collaborative process. It's really, it is working together, you know.
Yes.
You're making something amazing happen,
Yeah.
which I really like. What was the hardest part, do you think?
I think that printing process in the end, just a massive moral dilemma, like to me. You know, I wanted this to be, that fly is very annoying.
I know, sorry, don't worry.
Quietly
At least it's not a
finding some
spider.
food. I really wanted this to be 100% Australian owned, made. I even researched to get the stickers. And this copy is 100% Australian, but that's probably the one thing it's not viable to print in Australia.
It is very expensive.
I was kind of angry at the start, but then I realised that, you know, in order for other people to work and feed their family and things, that is a reasonable price.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a millionaire, it would be different. Like, guys, buy the book, make Fiona a millionaire, then we can make everything in Australia. That would be great.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But so obviously the next print will be in China. Yeah, a massive moral.
Like,
it was frustrating.
Ridiculously cheaper though, guys.
Yeah.
It's like probably 5 times cheaper.
Yeah.
Which
So that
which
was
is a
probably
bit
the
more
hardest part.
realistic.
Yeah. And that panic, like you said, we'd booked a book launch and we still did not have a book printed. And then they were printed, and the printer man was, they'll be here Friday. And I'm like, but I've got a reading Friday. So we drove to Melbourne.
Yeah. It happened. We have the book. It's here and it works great.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah. What's next for you?
Yeah, so with us, because you said yes, remember?
Oh, yes.
So the next book is with Millie and Sammy again. This will be about sort of being nice to other, no, it's another moral. So it's not necessarily bullying, because I don't like to use that term, but it is about being kind to others. So it's about chooks in a chook yard, and they pick on another chook that comes in. So I've got, again, this is that process, meeting up with you, having that discussion. I've got this vision in my head about these chooks walking through the mud and fluffing up their skirts, and I cannot wait to see what you come up with.
Oh my God. Since you said the next book is about chickens, I have been drawing a lot of chickens.
Yeah.
Like, they're really, really, really fun to draw.
Yeah.
And I like them a lot.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
So next one will be Millie and Sammy, the Chook House Conundrum.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good title. Guys, you can buy Millie and Sammy on Etsy.
Yes, link to Facebook and Instagram, which is Millie and Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure you pick up a copy. This is a limited edition run at the moment in Australia. So this is all Australian made, and it's a very special. One day it's going to be worth millions of dollars because it is a special edition, but it will be available worldwide.
Yes, yep, there's a few overseas at the
fantastic.
moment too. So
Amazing. So
Thank
go
you.
get a Millie and Sammy,
Please.
because it's really great.
And that was the book launch. And this is the book. And it looks brilliant. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Millie and Sammy are just such great characters, and the illustrations are amazing. They've come out really, really lovely. I love that this is uniquely an Australian farm story, because you don't get them all that often. Farm life can be a little bit cruel sometimes, but this is like the ups and the downs of being on a farm in a really magical, soft way. I love it a lot. If you're still here, obviously you want to buy a copy. So I've put all of Fiona's links down below so you can do just that. Now, I've said this before, but I think it's important to say pretty much every time. Supporting small artists and authors and creators and all those little people is one of the biggest things you can actually do to make a real difference in the world. Why? Because they are real people telling real stories from your community. Fiona's book is uniquely Australian, an unusual farm story, and very much a local Portland creation. Every time you buy one of these books, it has a very real and a very immediate effect on supporting your local authors. This is a story about an Australian country farm. And if it's not your thing, that's okay. But if you want to support local writers and artists, you can have a look around your area, and I think you'll find that there are quite a few people creating things for you. Of course, if you're in Western Victoria or Portland, you can go get Millie and Sammy. Anyway, that is my spiel. If you're still here, thanks so much for watching. If you've got a weekend sometime with nothing to do, go visit Portland and make sure you grab yourself a book from Fiona while you're there. Until we meet again, my friends, on the next adventure, that's it for today. I hope you have a brilliant time. Bye.